Hey, hello everyone. Welcome back to Vitu Vidogo. Today we're gonna talk about um, we're gonna look into community libraries and community centers. What are these amenities? What are these facilities? Well, I think in Kenya we have the Kenya Library Association, I think KLA, and I think this is also one of the most underutilized public um, is a public institution. You see, in Canada alone, there are over 3,000 public or community libraries. And all these libraries, they are scattered all around the country. Amongst these libraries, there are, well, like just under 50 advanced libraries. I mean, maybe like those libraries that are strictly research libraries, like they are so advanced. Maybe you find those in institutions of higher learning, or you can find them in institutions of great scientific research. Now, in Kenya, I don't know, or maybe parts of Africa, some countries, we have underutilized libraries. Like we don't have libraries. Some time back there was a research that was conducted, and they were like, nowadays, it's like in Africa, we don't have that reading culture. The reading only happens in school environment, and outside the schools, people don't read. And why is this? Why don't we bring, these libraries closer to the people? Well, these are questions that we need to ponder and ask ourselves if we can actually do better. You see, Africa has a vibrant, young, or youthful population. And sometimes you'll be wondering, where do these people, we need to engage these people. And the governments of Africa right now, they're having a grappling problem with all this huge youth population. And this is because they have refused to build capacity. You see, a library is not just a place just where you just go and read. Libraries are also places where, you connect, you brainstorm ideas, and you'll be surprised how many ideas that can be learned or researched in those libraries can be of great use. These are places where you can engage the youth's mind and the youth's time. For instance, when I see our political leaders, they talk of, I shall give free Wi-Fi in the marketplace. This is very weird because in the market, we know it's noisy. People are haggling. People are there bargaining for prices. It is noisy. So then, if you have free Wi-Fi in the marketplace, don't you think that that is misplaced? What if that free Wi-Fi was in a public library where you actually have to build the public library? A library is a place where you have to be quiet to study. And if you need research and you don't have that facility, more research books in the library, but you have a free Wi-Fi or an access to a public computer in the Wi-Fi, in the library, rather, well, won't you make much use of that Wi-Fi whereas you're in the library? That is the question, my friends. And this is why I bring you this program, Vitu Vidogo, because I want you to see how it is done in Toronto, Canada. Well, I think Nairobi has the famous Macmillan Library. And I think we should have had more of these libraries. Well, I see nowadays, that's where many artists they go and shoot videos at the steps of that library. And it's also sometimes you feel sad when you have cases of where people walk into that library and they are doing research on those libraries on them, and they find those old books, and you have someone tearing pages from those books. And I think even in high school we would find something like that, and even in university. And I think on that part we need like serious, civic education amongst our people or amongst Kenyans or even in Africa in general, that where we need to respect, public utilities, you know, the adage. Oh, this takes me back to primary school. So I used to say the adage, and when you write that composition or essay, uh, leave it better than you found it, That was very common as a common rule written there in the library. Yet it was rarely followed. But if we did, in fact, leave a place better than we found it, I think it would also go very well in our society, because it should extend outside the library. You see, I am a member of Toronto Libraries, and it is free. All you need is a piece of ID. I think it was among the first things that I actually did when I got to Canada. You know, you are new, uh, and you need to go places and do some things and occupy yourself past time. And amongst the free places that you can go, you know, is a library. And, a library is also very good even in winter, or all year round, people go to the libraries. I have gone to many libraries in different regions. And one thing about these libraries that remains constant is that, you will find at least there's a standard setup for them. And it also differs with different regions or different parts of the city. If you are from a more affluent uh, part of the city, you can see like they will have those renovations, and you have glass libraries such as this one that you are seeing. So like when you find that it's all glass, it brings more light, natural light into the room. Whereas in older libraries, like if you go to some part of downtown Toronto, you'll find some older libraries. They are a bit dark, so they need more light, and maybe even the way they were designed, the shelves of the books are always in the way of natural light. But that is not to say that these libraries, they don't play a crucial role in the society. In fact, here you have libraries. They cater to everyone in the society, from children from ages of 2 to bigger boys and girls, and then we'll go to teenagers and youths, and then obviously these children will be accompanied maybe by their adults, so there's something for adults, and then there's something for seniors. So for children are engaged with crafts. They have like a timetable for children. Like right now, the schools have closed for 1 week. It's what they call the March break. So the children are at home, maybe with their parents. So these children cannot just stay in the house, just watching TV. So you have to get them out there. So you take them to the local library. The one that is close to you. If it has children activities, kids activities, creative writing, coloring, all this material, they are provided there in the library. And you from the get-go, you try to teach your children a reading culture. It is also very good for all type of children. Why? Because some children are able differently, and if you are in a special needs school, the way you find special needs schools are away from the other able-bodied public schools or private schools. So these are also a place where even children can see other children who are able differently, and they start to learn to respect them and accept them and not stigmatize them. So you can see how these libraries, they are trying, they bring a sense of bond or belonging to the wider community. Now, when we go to teenagers or the youths, there are also their programs, Are there internships being given by the city? Are there other programs maybe being advertised by the universities or, other public institutions that should be made aware of? Maybe like matters health and wellness, So they'll learn maybe about sexual health. They may learn about, drugs, because now Toronto also has a drug problem. Let's say even Canada, because, uh, South America is just part of the greater America. And, we have all these manner of drugs coming in, They are also legalized other forms of drugs. So like right now we have marijuana was legalized, maybe, was it 4-5 years ago? Yeah. So you can see even alcoholism. So they try to have all this wellness awareness. They are these ones, they bring them in the libraries, and they try to tell the youth where to get help. They'll even try to make the youth to be more proactive. Can you see signs? Is your friends having problems, maybe gambling problems? So now we're also having those gambling problems. I think when I went to Kenya a while back, oh my goodness, it was crazy. You open the radio, and I didn't know, like, this is like, it's a pandemic. You open you're listening to a radio, and oh, guess which box you want. Send the box number from 1 to 6. Send one box number, and your chance to win something. And all this gambling that has come up, and then it's so much enabled by phones, because everyone has a phone, and these people are just bombarding you with betting messages, and gambling. And these are also some of the things that the youths are going through. So you will find these libraries, and also for the community centers, they try to, to raise this awareness. They have those posters there. And so they try to inform the public that these services, that is how, these are also part of how government reaches out to the community through these libraries. You don't have to keep addressing the youth on top of the cars, because these are some of the things, like, it's making many African people, they feel restless, because your leaders, they can do better, but they want to address you on top of their cars in the hot, scorching sun. They will just stand there for 30 minutes, and they talk and they talk and they promise and they give more promises. Did we promise 2 cars last year? We promised 30. We will double that number. Did we promise stadiums? We'll double that number, and then they don't do. But you can see their motorcades, they are always becoming bigger. You can see their palaces, they are building more palaces. You can see if it is the renovation of their offices, every year their offices are being renovated for millions of dollars, if not billions of shillings or kwachas. You see? So we know we can build capacity. You can reach out to the people in a more humane way, in a more dignified way. You do not need to address people on top of the cars, because this is the problem that we are having in Africa. If you want to reach the people, you can reach them in their community libraries, reach them in their community centers, because this is what even their members of parliament do. Like, you go to those public libraries or even the community center, and you see a message from the member of parliament there. You will see a message from member of provincial parliament there, rather, sorry, or even a message from a premier or a message from the federal government. You do not have to address people on top of the cars, because that means if you address them in the scorching sun 10 years ago, they were addressed in the scorching sun in independence 60 years ago. Maybe your country was given independence 60 years ago. Africa is big. And then 50 years later, they were still, being addressed on top of cars. And there's never at one point these people have had a community hall for them that you can come, they sit down, you talk to them while they are seated, and then a microphone is passed around and they talk back to you and they ask you a question. You see, it is always, we never think about it. You may think like it is, I'm bragging, but I'm not. I want you to recall the presidential visit, Kenya presidential visit to the United States. Did he address the diaspora on top of a car, on a street? Did they stop traffic? Or did they find a nice place, a hall, and they sat down at a table? In fact, they even had dinner, and people were asking questions, because there are people who are in diaspora and they invest back. Are you seeing the difference? This is what I'm trying to address. Because we refuse to build capacity. And then we are always wondering, why is it so bad for us? Why is it so, why are we pushing each other? Why are we so, who is this stopping traffic? You need to get a patient to hospital only to find, the only way has been blocked. And they are telling you, oh, it's a governor, he's addressing a crowd. It is a presidential motorcade, they're addressing a crowd, or they are busy racing up and down and they are knocking people down out of the way because they have to go, and they are doing one rally here, one rally there, and it's just chaotic. And all these crowds that are following them, and they are going around routing people. So I think it's time. We have to do away with that. And we have to start building these community centers. Every county, like Kenya has 47 counties. Every year, for me, I always say this, and now I think I'll start on this episode, and I'll say, like, if it is library, every county at least, they should have one library. We should have one community center. And then you can continue, every budgetary year, build another one. You don't need to build 10 for every county. Just start with one. Because even for these people, Toronto started with one library. And then they realized, oh, it is good. Next budgetary year, we're going to build another one. And before long, they were popping up or mushrooming everywhere. And every government, we have provincial governments and municipals, they brought them up. So it is not too hard. These people, they are doing it because they are intentional. And this is why we do this program, Vitu Vidogo, because it is the small things, those things that makes our life bearable. So let us talk more on the other public amenity. This is community centers. Now, community centers is what I would classify as maybe the noisy part of the centers. Because remember, you had the libraries. Libraries need the peace and quiet. But community centers is where you have more vibrant activities. You can have indoor sports. You can have meetings there, you can have maybe makeshift plays in there as well. So community centers, they are more community oriented. This is where, if you have cultural events, like for instance, February is a Black History Month here in North America. So at that point, you cannot take that. You can only take maybe a small notice to the library on a Black History Month, and then you can then redirect people to go for that activity in the community center. And then there's also, Toronto is cosmopolitan, as also in other parts of Africa. We have all races, different tribes. They live in the cities or different towns. So when you have this cosmopolitan, outlook, then you have different communities coming in to share their different cultures. Like here in Toronto, these community centers, sometimes they promote, they can let your child know, maybe you have moved to a neighborhood and you are from India, you have moved from a neighborhood to a neighborhood, and you are from Iran, or you are from Nigeria, or from Kenya, Uganda. You want to teach your child a second language, and then you can go there and see, oh, there's a huge maybe Chinese population here, and they are teaching Mandarin to children. So if you are interested, you see, that is where now the community centers come in, and they try to teach you on that. Also, the community can be quite active on matters, maybe climate and climate change. So you may go to a neighborhood where people are passionate on that, and they have put it on the notice boards that, we 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 care about the environment, and if you'd want to join us, we'll be obliged to have you join our volunteering team. It's also where, like, even the city itself can give messages on waste disposal. Now remember, Toronto is a big city, and waste disposal, or is big, is a big deal. So they'll help you to know how to classify the waste. Like here, when we are throwing out waste, is classified in 3 categories. There's organic waste. That one has to be taken to a certain place. Maybe it can become manure. And then there's recycling waste. They have the plastics, the carton boxes, the metal, and then there's other waste that goes to the landfill, like, those styrofoams that come with maybe the TV. Are you seeing those? They are not organic, and they're not recyclable. So the city will try to tell you, how to, sort out your waste. So there are many ways these community centers, they come in to help. They also help on matters public health, like, you as a mother, like, they try to help in members of the community, especially like the new parents, from the prenatal to breastfeeding, and maybe, when your child is a bit big. So they'll try to help with those services in those community centers. They announce, and they try to make sure, like, the public health is reaching out and to different members of communities, maybe with small children, or who are wishing to have families. So these are the things that I'm rooting for. Like, it is good for us, like, let us stop this thing of talking under trees, talking under the hot sun. Give a message if a crowd is not big enough. We want to break away from that. We want to be dignified. The same way you talk from the top of that car in the scorching sun, and then you leave people behind, and when you get in that big SUV, you tell your driver, hey, crank up that AC. It is too hot. Hey, fire up that AC. And what is wrong with this AC? Oh, the car is old. Okay, we shall get a newer one, with a better AC. So these are things we need to look at, and leaders, stop being selfish. You really have to stop being selfish. We will put a stop to that. We have to. If you don't have, then we don't have. Then we will know, all of us, we don't have. If you have, then you make sure all of us are having, because this The greed, it has to stop. We need to build capacity. You cannot take money for capacity building to build yourself. That is why you are running out of ideas, and the time has come up. Somebody has to pay. That is why you are seeing the Gen Z and the millennials, they are saying enough is enough, because when we come here, we can see how societies are working. You send your children here to study in these schools here, to live life here. And yet, even when they go home, they cannot even translate what they have seen here and change it in home. Why? At home. Why? Because the chaos you cause is the one that is affording them luxury. And they have never seen you work hard a day in your life. And now, all they have seen their father or mother do is to manipulate the population. And once they get what they want, then they go to enjoy the loot. That one is why we are saying no. We will not allow. That one we should not allow at all, at all. So you can see like why people are living dignified lives. Because all these facilities, you see, like these community centers we are having here in Toronto, yeah, they also go in terms of they are built according even to the needs of the communities. Some communities, they are more into ice hockey. So here they will make those ice rinks, and you'll be surprised, like, you know, those communities, they produce hockey greats, hockey athletes, and those hockey athletes here, like, they call it the National Hockey League, is big. Here you have people signing contracts of up to $9 million a year, you know? And don't belittle that money and saying that is small money compared to European football. If you are given that 9 million, are you going to turn it away? Don't you see it is big money? It is because people are building capacity. And this is the one thing, like, when the Raptors president, this is the Toronto Raptors president, Masai Ujiri, he is a Kenyan and Nigerian. Like, I think his mother is Kenyan and his dad is Nigerian. And the Toronto Raptors in the 2019, we won the NBA. I supported the home team. I remember that time. I still have the t-shirt. And he came to Kenya and Rwanda, I think. And he was like, you know, when I walk around Africa and I see all these tall men who can play basketball, and I'm like, this talent is always going to waste. That is what our African leaders are doing. They are looking at their youth and they are wasting them away. Just because someone ahead of you was somebody used to waste and wastage. You know, just because the leader ahead of you was a bully does not mean you have to hand us down a raw deal because you are given a raw deal at the time you are starting. You cannot tell us, wait for your time. It is my time to bully you and subdue you. And then when it is our time, we are grown, then we start subjecting our children to that. Then we cannot grow. We cannot be the Singapore that we are always talking about. So we have to refuse that. We have to. Vehemently. We have to do something and move forward. And that's the only way we can move forward, is by starting to build this capacity. Because we can see it on the ground. And that is why I'm making this. Because, you know, you are telling the Gen Z, bring these ideas. You always tell us, here are the ideas. And it starts just by one. Build one community library, every county. Build one community center, every county. And this should be replicated until it is enough. You know, bring one fire truck in every county. You know, then you can build on that. Bring one ambulance. Finish up one hospital, level 5 hospital. You see, every year you have to do something. By the time you are done, we can look back and we say, oh, you see how far we have come? That is why we have to do this. Vitu Vidogo. It's the small things that count. Remember, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. Thank you.